Shalom, giving all praises and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and shalom to all the Yakim teaching this word around the globe with faith and truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Caleb from the GMS UK London Forecasters Camp, back with another lesson to help edify the Lord's elect. As always, I like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites, and the real Israelites, he said, called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans predominantly, but you will find Israelites that do look like the other nations, because we as a people have been scattered amongst all nations throughout our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like, because the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and the 18th verse states that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So a few days ago, before the Saturday camp, I was awake in the morning, and I was just laying in bed meditating on some stuff, and I was thinking about some things from my childhood, and this memory came back to me because I was a child in the 1980s, and during that time my mother used to like to watch some soap operas on TV. So I must have been like, four, five, six, around that kind of ages. And this is in the mid 1980s. And mum used to watch a very popular TV show in the 80s, a soap opera called there's one called Dallas and there's one called Dynasty. And she used to watch them, more so Dynasty, or Dynasty as we call it in the UK. And it used to have that woman, Joan Collins, acting in it. And that was one of my mum's favourite shows, and she used to watch it whenever she could. And I never used to watch it, but I'd be in the vicinity, like in the room while she was watching it. I'd be like, laying on the floor playing with my toys or whatever, and she'd be watching it, and I'd just be focusing on what I was doing. But I did remember one thing that stuck in my mind. There was one particular episode where one of the characters ended up encountering what the world would class as a UFO, an unidentified flying object. And that was very out of place for this show, because this show is based around, typical worldly shit, like, people having relationships and affairs and people squabbling over money. It was just typical soap opera shit. But then all of a sudden, this scene happened. And I remember this is one of the ones where I actually stopped and I was watching what was going on. I was thinking, isn't that odd? So like I got notifications on from brothers in chat. But I remember watching and thinking, isn't that odd? Because obviously in the 80s, I didn't understand what the UFOs were according to the scriptures. Because in the scriptures, it talks about unidentified flying objects as being the chariots of the Lord. The chariots of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, in which the angels travel in. And Zechariah, the 5th chapter and the verse goes into how this is a curse that goes forth over the face of the whole earth. Obviously, I understand that now that I'm older and I'm in the truth. But my point is that there's nothing that is done by a coincidence. The Most High made me see this when I saw it as a child, when my mum was watching it on the TV. And he made it stick in my mind and has brought it back to my remembrance now so that I can use it for edification. So what I decided to do is I went onto YouTube and I tried to search up the clip, and I found it. So I'm going to play it now, and I'm going to break it down with the scriptures, because it's actually one of those moments where the top Hollywood script writers and film directors, they know the Bible. They know the truth. And sometimes they will hide the truth in plain sight. So let me play this clip and then I'll break it down with the scriptures.
I always have. Don't move. Hold
me. So as you can see, that was a typical type of scene from this show, oh, I love you, hold me, typical romance shit. And then it jumps from that to this. It's just quite jarring. Let me play it again.
I always have. Don't move. Hold me.
I'm calling for my car. I'm in the middle of the desert, at the junction of Route 61 and Diamondback Road. I'm having trouble with my engine. It's dark, and I need help. Can you give me the number of the nearest...
Sorry, I can hardly hear you.
I said I need help. Hello? Hello?
The Colbys will be back in a moment.
With proportions that threaten to destroy the PTL ministry. Among our guests, the Reverend Jerry Hallwell and Rex Humphrey.
So there you go, right? I remember that when I was a child in the 80s seeing that and thinking, wow, isn't that odd? Because it's very jarring, because to put it into context, for those of you who are over here in the UK, there's that long-running soap opera called EastEnders. That's very popular. Or, you got a couple of them. You've got EastEnders, Coronation Street, these long-running British soap operas where all it's about is, typical everyday, bullshit drama, people having affairs, people squabbling over money, people fighting for custody over their children, basic worldly bullshit. Imagine one day seeing, I don't know, Phil Mitchell come out the Queen Vic and a chariot just appears and he gets taken up in it. That would be very out of... It would be very out of the realms of normality for those kind of shows. So to give it some context, that's how that appeared in this show in the 80s called Dallas. It was very out there for a show that's predominantly about basically bullshit worldly drama. So let me just play the end of this and you'll see what I mean, because all these little clips from the show, you can see it's just about that type of thing.
This is Charles Gibson.
And Joan London. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, date rape. We'll hear from victims and find out how women can fight back.
Also, Danielle Steele, Jack Lemmon, and Victoria Principal on Good Morning America.
Saturday at 8, a boy lost in this world turns to someone from another. Starman at his new day and time. Now stay tuned for 2020.
Anyone who offers you crap.
Alright, so I don't know what Bruce Willis is doing there, but so that's that, right? And my point is that the producers of this show, they obviously put a lot of effort into producing that scene of the chariot and having it fly and everything, so there was no expense spared. It's just very strange that they'd put such an element of truth out there in plain sight. And at the time, I think there was a lot of fans of the show who thought, oh, well, what's this nonsense? It's too out there. It breaks the fourth wall, so to speak. But hey, nothing is done by chance. The Most High set them up to put that in the show, to put a bit of truth in plain sight. So let me get some scriptures on it. I will start with Zechariah, the 5th chapter. This is Zechariah 5, starting at verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. Now you've got to put your mind back into the context of when these scriptures were written. These were written before the invention of Esau's flying machines, such as the aeroplane or the helicopter. So what on earth did Zechariah look up and see flying in the sky? He said he saw a flying roll. And he said unto me, so who said unto Zechariah the angel that was with him, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, meaning Lord of armies. Because the chariots, what the world generally calls UFOs, that represents part of the Lord Yahweh's army. And I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. So who is the thief? The thief is the so-called Edomite, because he has stolen the Lord's treasures. What's the Lord's treasure? Us, his people, the Israelites. Not only did they do that, but they destroyed the temple and stole the all the holy artifacts and all the gold and the silver and everything else. So these chariots shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and it shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. So part of the destruction that's going to come upon this earth when Yahushua returns is going to be brought from what the world may call UFOs. Just like you see seen in the film Independence Day, where the chariots pierce the clouds and they make themselves manifests. That's how Yahushua is coming back. As the scriptures say, the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night. Now in the scriptures, these chariots are also referred to as clouds, because they can disguise themselves as clouds. And as I said in the scene in Independence Day, you literally see the chariots coming out of the clouds. It's crazy. Well, it's crazy to those who are uninitiated in the knowledge of this truth. It's not crazy to us to understand this truth. Now that scene I showed there of the show, let's get it up again, that appeared crazy to the people of the world at the time it was shown, which is about, 985, 986. There you go. You know, looking straight like something out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, for any of you brothers who have been in the truth for any length of time, the chances are that you've seen chariots. You may have seen them stationary where they're flickering in the distance, or you may have seen them moving where they're changing colours. So this depiction that they're showing out right here This isn't too far-fetched from the truth, in the sense that obviously we're not going to know what the chariot really looks like until, they actually manifest themselves at Yahushua's return. But we've seen recordings and video clips of brothers that have taken videos, and you can see them changing colors with various lights and so on and so forth. The Most High is out there, man. The Most High is out there. I mean that in two ways, figuratively and literally. Literally as in the Most High is a power that hideth himself, but he is out there watching. And then figuratively, in a sense that the technology of the Most High is out there. We look at Esau's technology, we marvel and we think, whoa, ain't that cool? You got little devices in you got little devices in your pocket, mobile phones that act as little portable personal computers. This shit ain't nothing to what the technology that the Most High's got out there, man. And it's beautiful to be reminded of that, because sometimes you need to put things into context, because Esau is the great deceiver. Esau deceived the world into making everybody on the earth think that he sitteth in the position of the Most High, and that he is the Most High, and that there is no power above him. But there's something that I like to do, and I've always liked to do, is this. Sometimes you need to just step outside your house and just look up, and look at the vastness of the sky. Because for all Esau's created here on this earth, the concrete, the pavement, the roads, the cars, the telephone poles, the lamp posts, the lights, all that kind of stuff. If you look at that and then you look up at the sky and how vast it is, and you think, hang on, Esau's only got dominion on this little earth. He hasn't got control of the heavens. And if you look up at night, you see the stars, you see the heavens. Esau is fucking, he's nothing, man. He really is nothing. And let's put it into further context. The scriptures refer to Jacob, us Israelites, as worms. Right? The Edomites are even lower than us. But it's just that through the Spirit, the Most High has risen them up to be our whooping stick, to be his sword of his left hand, to punish us. So we have the basest of men ruling over us at the moment. But yet we look at his technology and we marvel at it. But yet oftentimes we forget that the Most High is so much far, or so further above the thought and beyond the thoughts, understanding and comprehension of men. Remember, the scriptures clearly say that my ways are above your ways and my thoughts are not your thoughts. Speaking of the Most High. And the Most High is a power that hideth himself. Let's get back to the scriptures. This is the book of Acts chapter 1, starting at the 7th verse. This is Yahushua speaking to his disciples after he made himself manifest to them after his resurrection. Let's start verse 6. And when they were therefore come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power. But ye shall receive power, after that the Holy Spirit is come upon you. And ye shall be witnesses unto me in both Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. And when he had spoken of these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. So what happened in Acts 1 verse 9? Yahushua was taken up by a chariot, like you would see in Star Trek. I don't watch Star Trek, but I'm familiar with this saying, beam me up, Scotty. And, the crew of the Enterprise would be beamed up into the Enterprise. Well, that's how the chariot, that's kind of indicative of how the chariot received Yahushua. It says, when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud, meaning a chariot, or what the world would ignorantly call a UFO, an unidentified flying object, or UAP, received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly towards the heaven as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel. Who were those 2 men? Those 2 men were angels, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, Why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahushua which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So that's how Yahushua is going to return. What is further confirmation of that? Revelation chapter 1 and the 7th verse. This is Revelation chapter 1 and the 7th verse. It says, Behold, he cometh with clouds. So Yahushua is coming back not with one chariot, but with great many clouds. And every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. Even so, so be true. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending. Meaning that Yahushua was the first creation, and he'll be the last. Saith the Lord. He was the first Adam, through which into the world entered sin. And through that same vessel, Yahushua, who was Adam, is coming back to take sin out of the world, to destroy it. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Now, there's many other scriptures I could get going into the chariots, when Elijah and Elisha were walking and Elijah was taken up into the chariot of fire. That's another good example. The time when Elisha was talking to the young man and he allowed the eyes of the young man to be open and he saw the army of the Lord and how it was greater than they that are with us are greater than that be with them. I'm going to get one more, Isaiah 66 and 15, and close out because, you could spend a long time talking about this topic, but I just want to keep it to the point. Isaiah 66 and verse 15 says this. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword, who is the sword of the Lord on the right hand side? Yahushua. Remember Yahushua said, think not that I came to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace but a sword. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. So I hope that's been an edifying little lesson. So with that, giving all praises, honor and glory once again unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Hakakadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of great Nostan that rule well. Shalom to all the Archeum teaching this word with faith and truth and sincerity. I'm out for this one and I'll catch you in the next, Lord willing. Shalom for now. Wa Welcome Yeshua. Shalom.